Need high-quality video to promote your event, business, or band? We can help.
We're Pixel Pond, a video production team based in the Pacific Northwest, providing high-quality content to clients across the U.S. and Canada.
Whether you want coverage of your live event to promote for next year, or need a camera and a camera operator for your next big project, we can accommodate projects of all sizes.
Your story is important. Visit pixelpondllc.com or send an email to info@pixelpondllc.com to get started today. We can't wait to work with you.
This time on Gamers Week podcast, Nintendo has revised its account agreement and account privacy policy to tighten the rules on emulation and piracy, and the company now says it has the right to brick your console if it thinks you've broken the agreement.
Do you think that there's a button that Miyamoto gets to press? Like, he's the only one that gets to do it. He's the only one that gets to have that satisfaction of bricking somebody's console. They're like, sir, here. And he's like, all right. Presses the button.
Yeah, it's one of those where he has to like put his whole hand on there to scan the print and then an eye scan and then he can press the button.
There's a pretty famous video of him doing the like thumbs down, thumbs up. Except this time just down.
Mm-hmm.
No mercy. I'm in a little bit of a salty mood today.
Salty?
Oh.
I've had an eBay account since 1998.
Old man shakes fist at cloud story coming up.
No
Old man shakes fist.
27 years.
And I have had an impeccable, clean, 100% positive feedback on this account until today.
Oh, what happened?
What happened?
This dickhead just instantly left me a negative feedback without contacting me or anything. So after 27 years, I have my first negative feedback.
I mean, 27 years is a hell of a streak.
It is.
I feel like like I used to have old guys say to me, like, oh, I got T-shirts that are older than you. You're going to be like, I got an eBay account that's older than you.
I probably can do that now. Run into a youngin'. It's like, how old are you? Yeah, my eBay account's older. Shut up. Like, what? What the hell's eBay?
Right.
Mine's impeccable.
Because it's 0?
No, it's I've got like 70 something.
Oh, okay.
Mine's impeccable.
What?
Because it's 0?
Because it's 0.
It's like, what the hell is this? I was really going to be mad if you started to flex your eBay account and you started to flex your eBay account after me pouring my heart out to you guys.
That's what we're here for, though. We're
I was going to say, we're normally so sympathetic, right?
Oh, of course.
That's what you were expecting when you told us your
I
problems.
was expecting it from two friends.
That's the thing is, though, we're the kind of friends that will shit on you as often as we can. That's how we let you know that
That's
you're
your
a friend.
love language.
Right. Right.
Sometimes you need that.
All right. Welcome, everyone, to Gamers Week podcast. Like the name says, we analyze the best, worst, and weirdest headlines of the past week in the video game industry. This is episode 165, and today is Wednesday, May 14th, 2025. Thanks so much for tuning in, everyone. My name is Blue Williams, and I will be your host for this evening. But as you can see, I am not alone. Be sure to like, comment, and smash that subscribe button for my first co-host, whose new YouTube channel helps nerds get Beachbody ready by lifting 175-pound vintage cocktail arcade tables. Everyone, please say hello to Ryan Payne, a.k.a. Retro Game Brews.
This is 2 now that I've got, so I'm an expert. Pretty much an absolute expert on how to lift these things and then complain about it for the next week and a half.
Yeah, I was going to say, how's your back?
Terrible.
And my second co-host, tired of self-pollinating, has just joined the Farmers Only dating app, where he hopes to find some local holes to help germinate his double crop. Everyone, please say hello to the one and only Donnie G.
So many entendres in there. What, like holes in my crops and self-pollinating. No, pollinating.
Which is a real thing.
That's where you put the thing goes in the thing, right?
But some plants self-pollinate.
I got to learn more about this.
Trust me, I Googled it.
Sometimes you just f*** yourself.
Like, sir, we don't use that kind of language. Just tell me to go self-pollinate.
Right.
All right.
Very strict community standards on Farmers Only. All right. If you have been thinking about starting your own podcast, maybe about secret government llama racing leagues, well, then you'll need a place to host your show. Buzzsprout has a user-friendly interface, great analytics, and resources to help you grow your audience. Use the link in the description to get a $20 credit when you sign up for a paid plan.
I've been thinking about starting a podcast.
About secret government llama racing leagues?
Not specifically that, but something similar. Should I go to Buzzsprout?
I would, because then you'll get a $20 off credit.
I think I'll do that.
Okay. Seamless promotion. There we go. On to the reviews, reactions, and requests. Terry Baca says, great episode, y'all. I got so many much needed laughs after this past week. Also, I think Blue may officially be unstoppable as Trivia Daddy because RGB clearly picked topics to cater to Donnie, and he blew his one true chance to take it back.
I cannot confirm nor deny.
You blew it!
You blew it! Jesse Boops said, I didn't think bulges would bounce that much. I mean, I've seen them bounce around a lot in porn videos and when guys wear bikinis, but Gustav's has a lot of bounce, like they turned it up real high. Is it a realistic amount of bounce or did they crank it up for sex appeal? Boys, what do you think?
I don't think I have enough for it to bounce.
Is he wearing constrictive boxer brief underwear or not? Or is he just like, oh, is it kind of like he's freeballing in the swimsuit and it's an old school swimsuit, right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, that just happens, man. Like I wear shorts and no underwear and there's the jiggle physics are there.
The jizzle physics?
I said jiggle.
Yes, I know, but I'm correcting you.
Oh.
See, Insanity says, Ryan, show us the IRL jizzle physics.
Nope.
You're gonna have to stick around for the post show for that one. And then finally JB says, oh god damn it, does that mean I have to pass that beach obstacle course in Expedition 33 even though it's freaking insane? Yeah, it sounds like you do, because then that's the only way you get the swimsuit outfit and the jizzle physics.
The sacrifices you'll make, Jay.
But I guarantee, because that's like the first one, it'll pay off for the rest of the game.
Investment in your pitch.
Return on investment. All right, let's move on to our patron shoutouts.
We couldn't do what we do without the help of our gorgeous patrons. Here are the generous folks supporting Gamers Week on Patreon. Seven Castle Forest, Crunchy Kong, Sheriff Snacks, Frank Grande, Love Retro BTW, Steven Sand, Ramboski, Terry Canair, Don't Make Me Pull This Car Over, Games with Coffee, Hybrid Divide, You Fall Before Me, Davey PGH, the Pixel Pond family, including Shannon and Luke, Zach Hughes Thanks, Puzzle Butter, Number One Blue Sick Voice Fan, John Barron, Sassy Sony, Evo Lust, Rai Rai Wants This Boy's Soul, Mega Retro Man, Game of Troid, Mora Deeb, Michael, we're not just doing this for money, we're doing it for a load of money. Lakite, Emo-esque, Bill Tucker, you know, the bleeps, the sweeps, and the creeps.
My favorite part is that Ryan's acting it out even though he's not reading it.
And that's why I love them. Fruitcakes Pickled Pepper, Ducks with Thick Thighs, absolutely the best podcast, a work in progress, Bobs and Dugnut, Blues Little Sis, Loudmouth, Retro Blessed Pat, BNT Zilla Guy, and The Mad Milkman. If you like what you hear today, and we really hope you do, please consider joining us on Patreon. Your support helps cover the cost of producing the show, as well as other cool stuff we'll be doing like prizes and giveaways. You'll also gain access to our bi-weekly patron-only bonus cast called Gamers Week Uncut, Patrons with Benefits. Visit patreon.com/gamersweek or follow the link in the show notes to learn more.
All right, let's move on to our headlines.
Our headline segment is proudly sponsored by the absolutely the best podcast, A Work in Progress. Each episode, George and Zach discuss and rank all the best things, starting with deep dives into every movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. This week, they've got a trivia question for us. Everybody Wants to Rule the World is one of the biggest hits from the 80s music group Tears for Fears. But in the early version of the song, it had a slightly different lyric for the end of the chorus. Finish the original lyric, Everybody Wants to... and visit them at absolutelythebest.net or follow the link in the show notes.
Wants to eat my ass.
My first thought was like, everybody wants to be an Oscar Mayer wiener. But it didn't follow the rhyming scheme. So if we're doing the rhyming scheme, I think it's everybody wants their toes curled. Everybody wants their toes curled. See?
That sounds horrible.
I know it sounds horrible. That's why they replaced it with Rules of the World.
Everybody wants to date this girl.
Blue, what's the answer?
The answer, and you were both so close, by the way. The answer is everybody wants to...
Redacted.
Yeah, it doesn't fit the rhyming scheme either.
No,
which is clearly why it was the first draft and was discarded. Tegan says, everybody wants to Wang Chung tonight. Duh.
Duh.
This is one of my top 5 all-time favorite songs, especially driving around in the summer. Yeah, top down. I love this song.
Top 5 of all time.
Top 5 of all time.
Wow.
And if we asked you right now to name the other 4?
No.
Yeah.
Oh,
ouch.
Zach. Ouch.
Zach says, just here to watch the stream crash.
Hey!
After I gifted him a sub for crying out loud.
Some people just want to watch the world burn.
I mean, I get it, but like other people's world burn. I need this, okay?
We got no drop frames. I'm not going to put Blue through the ringer and have her stay up all night trying to patch this Frankenstein together. My internet's good. We're Gucci.
We're Gucci, man.
Appreciate it. All right, let's move on to this week's headlines. Nintendo has revised its account agreement and account privacy policy to tighten the rules on emulation and piracy, and the company now says it has the right to brick your console if it thinks you've broken the agreement. The change came with a May 7th update and centers on Nintendo's policy regarding how players use their consoles and Nintendo accounts. Previously, the agreement called out the usual suspects of prohibited activities with users not allowed to lease, rent, sublicense, publish, copy, modify, adapt, translate, reverse engineer, decompile, or disassemble all or any portion of the Nintendo account services. The new agreement has been expanded to include 2 additional subclauses of proscribed behaviors. Users may not obtain, install, or use any unauthorized copies of Nintendo account services or exploit the Nintendo account services in any manner other than to use them in accordance with the applicable documentation and intended use, blah, blah, blah. With the Switch 2 launch less than a month away, and with these further defined prohibitions, it's clear that Nintendo is refining its approach to console modders and emulation developers. Nintendo is involved in several lawsuits against those the company has claimed violated its intellectual property rights, including one suit that resulted in the total destruction of the most popular Switch emulation program, Yuzu.
Honestly, I was under the impression that, at least in some capacity, this was already the case. So I'm surprised to hear that now they're announcing that they're doing this. I don't know. It just seems logical to me that they would want to. I mean, it sucks that your console will get bricked, but you're making a conscious choice, aren't you, to jailbreak your Switch and emulate games for free that you essentially should be paying for. Let's be honest. They're new and they're on a console. Mm-hmm. So that's stealing. So, I mean, I'm not like the typical person that's like, yeah, Nintendo for your lawsuits, but this does seem a little logical to me. I don't know. Maybe I'm in the minority.
No, I don't feel like you're in the minority here. It's kind of a slap in the face or a wake up call, if you will, to realize that these companies can do that with these products. Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo can easily send a code to your system. Just like with the PS3, whenever it first came out, it was like, oh, it's constantly updating. It's got an update. You got to update. You got to update. There was a time when you could put anything you want to. You could run Ubuntu, the operating system, on your PS3. And then Sony was like, nope, we're going to take that away from you. So we're going to send you an update and you would no longer do that. That's why I don't like these consoles that are constantly connected to their particular servers, so they can just keep pushing your updates or their updates and do whatever they want to your console.
Deacon says, if you think this is worrisome, just wait till you hear all the things Tesla can do to their cars from afar.
Yeah.
I mean, first off, at face value, yeah, it seems kind of dumb that Nintendo wouldn't have included this in the user agreement beforehand. But on the other hand, I don't think it's going to matter one iota. I think that modders are going to look at this as a challenge accepted bit, and they're going to work extra hard to jailbreak this console. I don't necessarily know if it changes anything. Maybe you need to be a little more careful this gen, but like if you think about like modded 3DSs and stuff like that, those are super easy. You can do it yourself, or you can buy one loaded with all these ROMs. And then like I have one, and the person I bought it from said, don't go in the eShop with this.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. Because that's what's going to happen. But as long as you stay offline and just play games that don't need an internet connection, there's really nothing Nintendo can do to stop you.
Well, especially since that's an older console now. They don't have the eShop for the 3DS anymore. They don't have support for it. So in that case, for that kind of console, if you jailbroke a PS2 and you wanted to play all these different Japanese games on it or whatnot, you do that with older systems, which they no longer support. That should be okay. But for any of the consoles that are still going out now, like you said, Ryan, if I bought a Switch and I tried to mod it to be able to get games that I didn't pay for, come on. You know the consequences. You're going to get your hand slapped if you do something wrong. The other part of this is what if somebody sells a modded console? Like somebody's like, hey, can you mod this console? Yada, 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 without knowing the full repercussions of it. Yeah. And they go online and all of a sudden it gets bricked and they're like, hey, what happened? Well, you didn't read the user agreement. It was like, well, I didn't know to. I didn't know this was illegal.
Does?
Right, exactly. Who's got time to read all that?
Yeah.
Human Sentai pad. You bring up an interesting point, though, before, as you were talking about this, like, well, it's kind of like a slippery slope, right? Because they have the access to do this no matter what. And if you are online, do something that they don't agree with, they can brick your stuff. And in this particular case, I think that that's maybe the only other argument that I've heard against this. I think most people kind of get it. But it is a scary prospect that if Nintendo doesn't want you doing something, or you bought a game and they don't want to support it anymore, whatever it is, I'm sure there's a myriad of different scenarios you could come up with. I don't know, though, that bricking consoles is something that Nintendo wants to spend a lot of time doing. So I don't know if the slippery slope argument is something that holds water over time. No,
that's a good point. I think it remains to be seen for us to hear about the first time it happens.
Right.
And then see where it goes from there. Because I think you're right. They don't want to brick the consoles. They want to keep people playing them and buying stuff.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it'll be interesting. Maybe it's just a threat on there so they can, if they choose to. But probably your average person is not going to have anything to worry about here.
Right.
I do wonder, will you have a chance to defend yourself?
Definitely.
If you're wrongly bricked.
No.
Yeah.
Nintendo doesn't care.
Probably not.
Let's put it this way. They would care just enough to brick your console, and then the rest of it, they wouldn't give a shit.
Yeah, you stop existing.
Right. That's one step over the line. Too far for them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So Sanity asked a question, what's the over-under on Nintendo trying to sue those tech YouTube pages that do teardowns of all new devices? And I think in that regard, you're not modding the console. You're just breaking it down and looking over the internal components. And I think, this is just my personal opinion, but I don't think companies would have a problem with that if you're looking in how things are built, what kind of chips that they use and stuff like that, because they say, well, if you don't put it back together properly, they're just going to buy another one. So that's a win-win for us.
Yeah, you void the warranty, don't you?
Yeah, exactly. That too.
And a lot of the times those types of videos can help convince people to buy one who maybe were on the fence if your product is truly well made.
Yeah. And I've also heard, so when you said it voids the warranty, I don't think that's the case anymore. I think in a lot of places, in a lot of states, they changed that to allow the average person who wants to go in and work on their system to repair it, not to mod it, but to repair it. Then it no longer voids the warranty for them to do that.
Just thinking, like, did you hook up a 4090 graphics card to your Switch?
Yeah, I repaired it.
No. Do you think that there's a button that Miyamoto gets to press? Like, he's the only one that gets to do it. He's the only one that gets to have that satisfaction of bricking somebody's console. They're like, sir, here. And he's like, all right. Presses the button.
Yeah, it's one of those where he has to like put his whole hand on there to scan the print and then an eye scan and then he can press the button.
There's a pretty famous video of him doing the like thumbs down, thumbs up. Except this time just down.
Mm-hmm.
No mercy.
All right, next up, the video game companies negotiating a new contract with SAG-AFTRA have issued a best, last, and final offer to the Actors Union, which removes some key sticking points regarding generative AI. The new offer comes as the actors' strike against the companies crosses the 300-day mark. The most significant of these revisions is the removal of the one-time payment option for unlimited pre-generated content per game, or what the union has previously described as the unlimited DR use buyout. With this change, performers who consent to the use of a digital replica would receive compensation for that use comparable to what they would have received had they directly provided services. The major video game companies included in negotiations are Activision Productions Incorporated, Blindlight LLC, Disney Character Voices Inc., Electronic Arts Productions Inc., Formosa Interactive LLC, Insomniac Games Inc., Llama Productions LLC, Take-Two Productions Inc., VoiceWorks Productions Inc., and WB Games Inc. The Actors Union has been on strike against the company since July 16, 2024, after 18 months of negotiations on the new IMA. Our full proposal not only includes some of the most robust AI protections in a deal of this kind, it also increases wages by 24% over the life of the contract, with a 15% increase in performer compensation immediately upon ratification. We are ready to sign so that performers can return to making great content. Audrey Cooling, spokesperson for the Video Game Developers Party to the IMA, said in a statement Monday.
Have we heard anything from SAG-AFTRA as to their reaction to this?
All they basically said was, we're going to read it carefully and respond.
Because from what it sounds like, because this is a very one-sided view of this, right? That this is actually, it sounds like it's progress for what they've been pushing for, which is great. I mean, 18 months of a strike coming to an end, getting what they want and utilizing their ability to unionize in order to get better working conditions, pay, whatever. Sounds like a win. I just don't know how close to what they were asking for is this concession. So I'd be curious to kind of see where the delta is, if you will.
Yeah. I think probably this is not what they wanted. This is the point where it's like the whole thing from Stranger Things is halfway happy.
Mm-hmm.
I think what they wanted this entire time is for the generative AI to go away, for it to no longer be a threat. And that's not going to be a thing.
That's not, no.
What they specifically mention here, which is if you have a digital replica, there was a clause where video game companies could do a one-time payment and have unlimited use of your digital replica for their project.
Yeah.
Nope.
That's been taken away. And now the compensation is quote unquote comparable to what it would have been if you had done the project live versus as a digital replica. So I think that's probably one of the biggest wins that you could ask for, in that it takes away a huge advantage to the companies just making a digital replica and using you for the rest of time.
Yeah.
I believe, and I actually like this option. If I were an actor and they used my likeness for a character, I'm a young actor, right? And they want to continue to be able to use that young actor likeness moving forward and what have you for whatever games that they have. As long as you compensate me for that, and I understand that I'm not going back in there and doing motion capture as myself or anything like that. It's just this particular avatar or likeness that you had from before, I can understand a lower payment for that. And I, as myself personally, I would even accept that just as long as I got some form of payment every time you use that likeness moving forward.
Which makes sense, right? They're using yours. You would get royalty for it. I mean, I had friends who were in SAG-AFTRA that were doing commercials, right? And every time that they would reuse that commercial, they would get paid. Now, the one friend told me that sometimes it was pennies, literal pennies.
Yeah.
Get like a check in the mail for 8 cents or something like that. But they were still getting paid for it, right? It's their royalties, more or less.
Yeah.
I agree with it. Now, that being said, as far as you're right, I think that this is the compromise that, because let's be honest, compromise never like is everybody sits at the table and goes, man, that was a great compromise, because nobody gets everything that they want. Let's be honest. Right. And that's what negotiations I think are about. But to that point, limiting AI as much as possible, I think is a win for all of us. Not just actors, but all of us.
And let's be honest, the fact that they're even having these negotiations means that someone somewhere recognizes the value of real human actors.
Right.
And of the familiarity of having faces that people know and voices that people know, because otherwise they would just create their own AI actors and we wouldn't even be having this conversation. Mm-hmm. So there's value in, if you're an actor, involved in this strike, there's value in your face. And so even if you feel like, yeah, okay, if you want to use my digital likeness, I didn't actually have to do the acting. It could be cheaper. It's still your face. It's still your brand. I could definitely see wanting to get paid just as much for that.
Your face and your voice. Mm-hmm. Don't forget the voice actors as well.
Mm-hmm.
I always wonder if they have control over what the message is with that stuff. When you sell your rights away, right? And you say, okay, I'm willing to let you use my voice from an AI perspective. I mean, imagine that could be used for very nefarious things as well.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Let's just say that it was something that you're politically, spiritually, morally opposed to, and it was being used for that.
Well, I'm sure they've created provisions for that, having to probably very strictly okay every project that it's used for, which again is where that one single payment for unlimited use is kind of problematic.
That's what I was saying. That's
yeah. Not surprised that went away.
That's right. Yes.
TK85 says, remember the Friends episode where Joey takes pictures and becomes the face of herpes on the subway? It's that. It's basically that.
What Mario is not telling you.
Yeah. So I got the sketch down here.
All right, next up, EB.
Hang on. I would just like to point out that earlier you said negotiations, and then you changed it to negotiations. So when you listen to this again, I want you to hear that. You said negotiations.
Thank you.
So you didn't wait for Zach to correct her in the Discord.
Exactly.
You wanted it now.
I see we're going to have one of those nights, huh?
Yes, Daddy.
Don't forget it. All right, next up, EB Games lives again, in Canada at least. GameStop Canada has been acquired by Stephan Tetrault, an entrepreneur and longtime leader in the collectibles and entertainment space, and is being relaunched as EB Games Canada, a beloved and iconic name many Canadian gamers still associate with their earliest gaming experiences. It seems like an odd move at first blush. The rise of online shopping has been absolutely murder for conventional retail, and nowhere is that truer than in the field of video game sales. Why go to the trouble of driving to the mall, after all, when you can just browse over to your digital storefront of choice and choose from among, well, everything? This isn't just a business decision. It's about bringing something back that Canadians truly love, Tetrault said in a statement. We're going to build something special here with community, nostalgia, and innovation at its heart. GameStop hasn't actually been in Canada all that terribly long. GameStop acquired EB Games in 2025, but it continued to operate in the company as EB Games until 2021, when it finally got around to rebranding. Less than 4 years later, it all seems like kind of a waste of time. The old name is coming back, but for many Canadians, it never really left.
Canada. They get all the good stuff, man.
Well, for one, yeah. So this feels, and it's not. It's obviously not Tommy Tallarico buying Intellivision or Mike Kennedy buying Ataris or, Coleco or licensing out Coleco's name.
Mm-hmm.
But it feels like it, doesn't it? It feels like, hey, let's revitalize a brand that's gone. And let's go against the grain of where everything else is going. It's like watching an avalanche happen and starting to run towards it, and hoping for the best.
Pretty much.
Right?
You're running towards the avalanche where like 17 other people have died. And you're like, no. This is going to be great. It's going to be nostalgic.
It's going to be different this time.
Right.
I could talk to avalanches.
And it's not that I don't want retail to exist anymore. I do. I have nostalgia for that retail experience. I have nostalgia for EB Games. Used to go to the one in the mall. It was a really small store too, but you would go in there and you would know exactly which each aisle was that had the exact games that you wanted. They sold old school games too. At EB Games, loved it, right? But nobody wants to buy that way anymore, and it's just unfortunate. Well, let me rephrase. Most people, and especially the younger crowd, don't want to buy that way. I don't necessarily always want to leave my house either. So if it's available to me.
It's 2025 for f***'s sake.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's different in that way. But nonetheless, it's just, I don't know if it's a great business model. I mean, I wish Stephen the best of luck in that regard. But how, I guess, he spends his money is up to him.
So if I remember correctly, EB Games had video games, they had computer games, big box computer games, they had toys also. Is this going to come back as having those kind of things again, minus the big box games? Because now most computers don't have a disk drive or anything like that. It's a code that you download and that's it. Mm-hmm. So what is it that they're going to, because the nostalgia thing, it's not going to work. I mean, look at what GameStop is doing. GameStop is going in the or they're closing left and right. It's not a viable thing anymore. So what are they going to do differently that's going to make them succeed? And I don't know what that is.
Yeah, that's the $1 million question.
Well, the only thing I will say about that probably is different from GameStop versus EB Games is it sounds like this is much more controlled, right? Where where GameStop, I think, was much more of that like corporate, let's see how much money we can wring out of this towel before it's dry, which they definitely did, where I don't think you have to necessarily make those concessions and screw over your customers in a way to just try to get as much money as possible. I mean, did you sign up for a Power Up Players card? So, I mean, if they don't follow that and it's just a collection of retro style stores, I don't necessarily think it needs to or go the same way that GameStop has. But again, I think it's not just the fact that GameStop took a model and killed it by making it corporate. Retail in general across the board is suffering right now.
Right. And let's not forget that this has essentially been GameStop since 2005. Just GameStop by another name. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And they finally got around to rebranding. But for the last 20 years, this has been a GameStop with a GameStop business model. And even if you take away the toxic aspects of what GameStop did, this is still just going to be a game store. How are you going to make ends meet selling physical versions of, just like it says, stuff that people can go buy online? It's more convenient. Why do they got to march their asses down to your store to buy this?
Yeah.
That's a tough question to answer. And I, for one, would not attempt to answer it.
Sometimes it's even less expensive to buy it online as opposed to going down to the brick and mortar store, like we all know. Yep.
Right.
If this is just like a GameStop, then I don't know if the nostalgia factor is going to be enough to keep it afloat. There is a game store here in the St. Louis area that's been around since the 90s called Slackers. They originally had 2 locations, then they opened up more locations, and what they focused on was used stuff, records, CDs, mostly music, posters, video games, and systems. And now they're starting to do everything. They got comics. They've got Magic cards, Pokemon cards, toys, all this other stuff. So if EB Games was kind of like that, maybe they could survive along with the newer games and stuff like that come out. Sure.
I mean, I don't know. That's essentially what GameStop has already been doing. toys and Funkos and all that kind of shit. And it hasn't worked out for them.
Not all. So like I said, with the used stuff, used records, used CDs, those things kind of still sell. And especially now that people are hunting physical media, even used Blu-rays and DVDs, they have those too. So maybe they kind of get into that aspect.
Become half-price books Canada.
Yeah, exactly.
TKN85 says, maybe these are the guys to finally get NFTs right.
No.
Open that NFT marketplace. That'll be what'll save you.
Just thinking too, like where you were talking about the big box games and they don't have them anymore. It's like, hey, we've got an entire section of Steam gift cards for you.
All right. And last up, game developers rejoice. Defender, GoldenEye 007, Quake, and Tamagotchi have joined the World Video Game Hall of Fame at the Strong National Museum of Play. These 4 games, which have significantly influenced popular culture and the video game industry, emerged from a field of finalists that also included Age of Empires, Angry Birds, Call of Duty 4, Modern Warfare, Frogger, hey, frog-type games, Golden Tee, Harvest Moon, Mattel Football, and NBA 2K. The games were announced at a special ceremony that included members of the Defender development team, with the team lead Eugene Jarvis, John Romero, co-creator of Quake.
Co-creator?
And Tara Batty, the head of Tamagotchi for Bandai Namco. The games are now enshrined in the Strong National Museum of Play's World Video Game Hall of Fame Rotunda, part of the ESL Digital Worlds exhibit. The World Video Game Hall of Fame at the Strong was established in 2015 to recognize individual electronic games of all types, arcade, console, computer, handheld, and mobile, that have enjoyed popularity over a sustained period and have exerted influence on the video game industry or on popular culture and society in general. You guys can go ahead and say it.
Say what?
I figured you'd have been both been so excited and been right on this. My pick didn't make it.
See, we're not as vindictive as you are.
I don't think that's true at all. I think you just forgot.
I don't remember.
Remember when we covered the nominees on the show? I picked Age of Empires. Donnie picked Quake. Ryan was absent.
Yes! So I am Hall of Fame, Daddy?
He gets to keep that for a year, too.
Yes! You can be Hall of Fame Daddy.
Oh, Hall of Fame, Daddy.
Does it make your nipples hard?
It does. Cut glass with these things.
I got to say, it's kind of annoying.
What, the nipples?
GoldenEye 007. Yes, your nipples are so annoying. GoldenEye 007 finally made it, like the year that we didn't pick it because we were so used to it losing.
Right.
And the Tamagotchi makes it, really?
That was big. Come on, that was huge back in the day.
It was big, but I think it's a toy. I wouldn't call it a video game. I would just call it a toy.
But so a Mattel football. I would say that the Mattel football is a toy, not a video game.
Would you call a Tiger Electronic handheld a toy or a video game?
I would call that a toy because it's a piece of shit.
See, Sanity says, I think you are all extremely and viciously vindictive.
He knows us.
Yeah, he gets us.
Hall of Fame Horse Daddy bling necklace incoming?
Where'd the horse part come from?
I mean, I am like a horse in one aspect.
You got a big mouth?
Yeah.
So I picked Quake. You picked, what was it again?
Age of Empires.
Age of Empires.
Mm-hmm.
And what actually made it? So it was
Defender, GoldenEye 007, Quake, and Tamagotchi.
Quake and Tamagotchi. And I think I had even said that Golden Tee could possibly have a shot in there as well because of just how much of an impact it's had. And it still continues to have an impact. And now they have leagues and championships and all that stuff for Golden Tee. So I was kind of surprised that didn't make it.
Rambowski says the hooves.
Look at my hooves.
I would say that's probably it, except for we've seen your feet on stream before. So
You want to see him again? I'm not wearing socks.
No, I don't.
Orion.
I am surprised Frogger didn't make it before Defender. I would say that Frogger, to me at least, I'm not looking. Frogger, for me at least, is a much more well-known and iconic game than Defender was. But maybe Defender, I guess, because it came out earlier, maybe it's more influential. I don't know. But me personally, I think I would have picked Frogger over Defender.
Yeah, I don't know. The fact that Tamagotchi won over literally any of the rest of those would have been more deserving in my mind. Who even knows what they're thinking of when these panel of experts vote for these? But
what you don't know is I got a shipment of a bunch of them, and they just needed an excuse to display them. So they're like, just shove that one in there. Got to get these out of the storeroom. They're taking up too much space.
Because they're all this big. Yeah.
I would tend to agree with you, Ryan. When I think of the older classics, and if I see them in the arcade, I'm playing Frogger at least once.
Same.
And Defender doesn't even cross my mind.
Aren't you going to play Tamagotchi if you see it in the old arcade?
And they're not in the arcades. They have a Tamagotchi section.
Exactly.
I think they should make that like a big, huge S1. You got like, boom, boom. Come back days later and clean up the poop.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's move on to our top 3 new releases.
Capcom Fighting Collection 2. PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. Capcom's new Fighting Collection hits the stage. Choose from fan-favorite games like Capcom vs. SNK 2, Mark of the Millennium 2001, and Project Justice to 3D action games like Power Stone and Power Stone 2, and this collection of 8 classic fighting games. Labyrinth of the Demon King, PS5, Xbox Series X and S, Xbox One, PS4, Switch, and PC. Heavily inspired by Kingsfield and early survival horror games, Labyrinth of the Demon King is a challenging first-person dungeon crawler set against the backdrop of a mythical feudal Japan besieged by demons. As a lone foot soldier, embark on a quest to track down and slay the Demon King, who killed your lord. But will you have the skill, resources, and stamina needed to survive through all the horrors this brutal world will throw at you? Doom: The Dark Ages, PS5, Xbox Series X and S, PC. Doom: The Dark Ages is the prequel to the critically acclaimed Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal that tells an epic cinematic story of the Doom Slayer's rage. Players will step into the bloodstained boots of the Doom Slayer in this never-before-seen dark and sinister medieval war against hell. Based on these awesome descriptions this week, Blue, which one are you picking?
Capcom Fighting Collection. I'm a super filthy casual at fighting games. I don't practice them. I pick them up in button mash. It's interesting to me that this is not available on the current gen. We haven't seen that in quite a while. And for such a high profile collection, I'm pretty surprised that it's only PS4 and Xbox One. Maybe in a pinch I could play it, but I really don't ever see myself spending money on that. Labyrinth of the Demon King, I think, looks really, really cool. Definitely looks like it was inspired by old school horror games. The thing is, it's first person, and I kind of don't want to play first person if I don't really have to. And the same with Doom: The Dark Ages. Both Labyrinth of the Demon King and Doom: The Dark Ages are getting super positive review scores. But just first person games are not my thing. Shooters are not my thing, but I'm sure they are both really awesome games. So this week, I'm going to sit out. I'm not going to buy anything, but I look forward to watching streams of my friends play both these games.
First-person shooters aren't your thing? Weights aren't your thing? Tell me, what is your thing? Ryan, do you know what that's from?
The weights aren't your thing. Tell me, what is your thing? It definitely rings a bell, so it's something I've heard before.
Think about it and come back to me with an answer.
Got it.
Okay. So Blue's picking none of them. But you did say that Capcom Fighting Collection was only available for PS4 and Xbox One. It is for the Switch too.
Well, yeah, but
as well.
In another month, that will be last gen.
That's true. And you don't play last gen. You play new stuff.
Yeah.
Ryan, what about you? What are you picking this week?
So Capcom Fighting Collection, it's got Power Stone and Power Stone 2. Hell yes. Some of the two coolest fighters on the Dreamcast. It's unique because it's not your typical like kind of side view, right? It's in a 3D environment. There's a bunch of different upgrades that you can get. Power Stone is so much fun. Actually, it's probably one of my favorite games on the Dreamcast.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Power Stone 2 is just more of the same, right? So the fact that they came out with this, I didn't know that Power Stone was necessarily Capcom related. So that's super cool. So, yeah, I'll definitely be grabbing this on the Switch. I assume it's going to be relatively inexpensive, like a $39.99 for it as well. It's not going to be $80 though.
It's still Capcom.
But I remember like they came out with the Mega Man stuff and that was cheap. Like the X collection and all that stuff.
Okay, let's find out.
All right.
What's the over under? I'm saying it's going to cost $45.
Ryan?
I said $39.99, so I gotta stick with that.
What are we wagering here?
Would we have to wager something every time?
Because I want to see one of you so very sad.
This is not going to make me so very sad.
Fine. You guys don't allow me any fun. On Steam, it is on sale for $39.99.
Oh! Ding, 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 ding.
Mine got the extra ding too, so like the price is right when you get exactly the right number.
Webhead says, "Who will earn Wager Daddy title?"
Wager Daddy.
So yeah, unmistakably going to pick this up, but it's not like the thing that I'm most excited for this week. It's probably Doom. Let's be honest, because Labyrinth of the Demon King. While I agree, it looks super super cool. Man, they've been coming out with a lot of feudal Japan stuff. And
you love feudal Japan stuff.
I do, but everything is within moderation. Let's be honest, right?
Everything?
Everything.
Not everything.
Can't see those hands, Blue.
I'm under no obligation to show you my hands.
Gary Clanton, thank you for the 600 bits that you just donated.
Thank you so much for
awesome
that.
And amazing.
Awesome.
Wager biddies.
Wager biddies.
So I think Doom, the Dark Ages, I mean, Doom's great. The fact that they're continuing to come out with Doom games. I think Doom in 2016 was really well done. So yeah, I'm definitely interested in checking out more of the same, and I think it's going to look spectacular on my PS5. So, Doom: The Dark Ages is what I'm going with this week.
Okay.
Okay. What about you, Donnie?
So I think I already have the first Capcom fighting collection, and I love fighting games. Absolutely love fighting games, but the amount of games on this particular collection, I don't really care too much for. Like Ryan says, it's Power Stone and Power Stone 2, more of the same. That's their tagline, right? It almost sounds like a Mel Brooks tagline, more of the same. I've never played Power Stone, so I don't have the same nostalgia that Ryan does, right? Or Ryan has for it. Most of the collections I have would be all the older Street Fighter stuff, Street Fighter 2, Super Street Fighter 2, Marvel vs. Capcom, X-Men vs. Street Fighter, stuff like that. That's my wheelhouse. So the SNK stuff, never got into. SNK, Art of Fighting, King of Fighters.
Samurai Showdown?
Now, Samurai Showdown, however, that's a little bit different. I do enjoy Samurai Showdown, but I could never get into King of Fighters or the Art of Fighting or anything like that. It just felt like a cheap Street Fighter knockoff. And I'm sure there were people who will crucify me for that statement. But for me...
And I will watch.
with a bag of popcorn, just because I was so Street Fighter was all that I knew. Anything else like the Art of Fighting, King of Fighters, I was not their target audience. So those games just don't interest me. So I'm going to pass on the Capcom Fighting Collection too. I looked at Labyrinth of the Demon King, and while the story seems good in feudal Japan and everything like that, looks like I'm playing a PS1 game. If I want to play a PS1 game,
that's on purpose.
I'll go play a PS1 game then. I'm not going to pay $60 to play a PS1 game.
Just remember that they had to put it on the Switch, so it has to be the common denominator.
And also, this one, it looks like a PS1 game, but it's going to have those modern quality of life things. Like, for example, I bet you the camera doesn't fight you to the death when you try to play this one.
Okay, well, what about the discerning the background from the foreground because of the way that they modeled different things?
You know, they can't design every game around your old man eyes.
I'm not even wearing my glasses again tonight, so you can't really throw that at me. I'm not saying that I'll pass on Labyrinth of the Demon King. It's not my first choice for this week, which leaves us to Doom. I have played only a handful of the Doomsises, and I have not played Doom in a long time. I do enjoy first-person shooters. It's just the content has to be right. BioShock, love that game. Mm-hmm. Love the first-person shooting aspect of BioShock. Can I get back into a true first-person shooter game that's not Call of Duty, that's not like the traditional war type aspect? I think I could. I think coming back to Doom, it might be a good time to do that. Will my PC handle it? I don't know.
So that's okay, because Sanity says, sounds like we need to give Donnie a pregnancy test preloaded with Doom. All right, before we move on, let's take a quick break to talk about our sponsor. This segment is proudly sponsored by the Retro Game Club podcast. It's a fantastic, family-friendly retro gaming podcast. In each episode, Rob and a guest pick 2 games to play and discuss, as well as news, interviews, and other topics. This week, they're playing through Impossible and The Magic Candle. Visit them at retrogameclub.net or follow the link in the show notes. And I gotta say, like, the more obscure that this show gets of these games, like, I have never heard of these games.
Neither have I.
Impossible sounds awesome.
It looks, the cover art for this game looks like I drew it in 6th grade.
I mean, with those older games, you never can trust the game art anyway, so why bother putting any effort into it?
The Magic Candle. What the hell is that one?
It's a candle sim.
Role-playing video game in 1989. Okay. Like a text.
Is it one of those like 89? Go north? Yeah, like I think those text-based RPGs, if giving that to a modern gamer would be like giving them their own personal hell.
It's not text-based. There are graphics. I'm not sure if you can actually move around. Like it was like if you imagine the old Dragon Warrior and the original Final Fantasy and how those were, this looks very rudimentary to that.
Really?
Oof.
Yeah.
Oof. Interesting.
But good on them for playing these kind of classics. You know?
I know. Somebody has to do it. I could not do it. So we thank you for your service.
And now it's time for the very important poll.
Every month we post our VIP or very important poll. If you'd like to participate, follow us on Twitter and Blue Sky at Gamers Week PC. This month's question is, in your opinion, where is the gaming industry in its life cycle? First up is only getting better with 11.1%. Next was holding steady at 25.9% and crushing it, which, you know, not exactly surprising that this is the answer on Twitter. Crashing and burning with 53.7%. 9.3% of you said other. Let's take a look at some of the comments for the poll. Tesseract Unfold says it's going through a correction. The way things had been going was unsustainable and they're crumbling a bit. But the industry is far more mature than it was in the mid-'80s, so it'll survive and be better off for it. At Retro Gaming, Deb said, I choose other. I think that there are areas like huge AAA games where there is some pain happening. Giant budgets, mid-year dev hell, poor responses, that is crashing in my opinion. But when you look at AA and in the indie scene, I'm seeing growth and excitement. At Samson 7.1 said, every industry lessens when control shifts from the creators to the money minders. Instead of a creator who with a cool concept setting up a budget and making money, now a money-making goal generates a budget which defines a concept a creator is tasked with implementing. At Retro Monster says a lot of people will say crashing and burning because, folks always mad. But really, we're seeing a lot of change right now. Companies are still making record profits and people are buying as many or more games and loving them as much as ever. So it's holding steady. And last up, Voltaic says, most publishers don't understand what makes games fun or what players want. I think for the time being, the industry will survive mostly because of indie and AA games. Sony, Nintendo, and Microsoft need to understand you don't need an 80-plus hour, $80 game to be successful. So, taking a look at these options, Donaldo, what did you go with?
I initially went with crashing and burning, simply because I don't like the state of the gaming landscape currently. Everything is a subscription service. Everything is trying to fleece you of your money every single month. Mm-hmm. There are games that get shipped that still have hell of amount of bugs on them. Back in the 80s and 90s, what did they do? If the game wasn't finished, they didn't ship the damn game. They waited. There wasn't this meteoric pressure from shareholders. You got to get that money. You got to get that money. You got to make that money. No, you just, okay, the game is done. We've told people about it. They're hyped for it. Here we go. We release it to the masses. And most of them didn't have the amount of bugs that newer games do today.
Well, in their defense, they were much simpler games.
There are a lot of games that are as simple today that are released. There are games that are not. And if you take a game like Elden Ring, for example, massive world game, a lot of different interactions in that. Sure, it's going to go wrong. All right. And I can live with a few bugs on that regard. But most of these games that get shipped, it's almost a constant thing. You're constantly shipping out games with bugs. And I hate that. I don't know if I think it's crashing and burning anymore. Maybe it's kind of holding steady, but maybe it's a steady decline because they're raising prices. They're raising prices on everything. And AI is supposedly making it easier for them to create games. So why are you raising prices?
Uncertain market conditions.
I don't know. For once, I'm a little bit of a pessimist here, and I just think it's kind of holding and steady crashing. It's slowly going down.
Who are you?
I know, right?
I suppose you don't think Sega's coming back anymore either.
I do.
I want to believe. The optimist in me wants to believe that.
So, Blue, what are you thinking?
I voted holding steady. And I arrived at my answer as kind of an average of factors. I think that in the comments, you can kind of see a pattern where people are like, the AAAs, not so good, but the indies and AAs, this seems like a golden era. And we've had so many amazing games in the last year, 2 years, a lot of ones that we didn't expect to see. And then they come in and they take over the year by storm. They're in the Game Awards and it's amazing. It does seem like Tesseract Unfold says it's going through a bit of a correction where I think the AAAs are going to start decreasing in importance. And then the indie and the AAs will continue to rise in prominence. And what we need to not see happen is those smaller studios to get sucked up by the big publishing groups and then ruin what made them so great. So some positives, some negatives, average it out. We're holding steady.
Nice.
I guess. What about you, Ryan?
I guess I'm in the other category. I think what we ran into was something that was unprecedented with the pandemic. There was an influx, I think, of a lot of new players and a lot of industry people, especially from more of the AAA studios, said, we need to pump out more games. We need to meet this demand where it's at. So they did. They continued to push out as many games as possible. And what this feels like, it's kind of like the Marvel Cinematic Universe a bit.
Right.
Where at first when it came out, it was extremely popular. They were coming out with movies left and right, and it felt right because the quality was there. The source material made it easy to do that, but nonetheless, they were entertaining. And it was a formula as well. I think the video game industry has been trying to follow that pattern and hasn't done a particularly great job for it. But now that we're literally having a reversal of economic fortunes, if you will, right? Where from the pandemic, everybody went in and was like, hey, let's start playing games too. Now I might not be able to afford them.
Yeah, like at all.
Right. That's a scary proposition, but I don't think that it's immediately a harbinger of crash and burn. Mm-hmm. I think that it's on the precipice of a change that is happening, whether companies like it or not. So the question is do they try to keep up production like they have with pumping out as many games as possible from a AAA perspective? And from what we've seen, and to Donnie's point, sometimes long before they're ready. And we've seen that for years. Like now it's acceptable to pump out a game with bugs and, we'll just patch it for the first year.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. It's fine. That provides a pretty poor user experience. And then you get people who become disenchanted with the industry. But like I said, I think they're on a precipice of change, and they can either make the right choices or the wrong ones. I unfortunately, I'm not somebody who is an industry head, so I couldn't tell you what I think is the perfect way to do that. But I think less is more sometimes in that regard. I think many people pointed it out. Indie games and AAA game or AA games and below can fill that gap if you really need it. We don't need GTA 6 size maps for every game. It's becoming a little ridiculous.
We don't, but those types of games provide the value for the money that you spend on them, at least in my opinion. Spending $69 on a game with GTA 6 level maps, with Elden Ring level maps. Mm-hmm. I think personally I would pay a little bit more for that type of game because I'm going to get more enjoyment out of it as opposed to something smaller, which is like, I think in our Discord, somebody was talking about the Midnight Walk game and how it was super short. Like we all really want to play this game. I don't remember how much it costs.
$40 for a 6-hour game. According to howlongtobeat.com, it's 6 hours to 100% it.
100%, 6 hours? No, that's way too short.
That's Dragon Warrior on the NES takes 6 hours.
Yeah,
that's serious.
It's apparently real short. Beautiful game. And then I had some questions whether the claymation art style costs them more to produce, where they are feeling they need to charge $40 for a 6-hour game. And I don't want to discourage indie games like that either, because it looks amazing, but it's a competitive market. And so if you're going to get people's attention, man, those 6 hours better be dynamite for $40.
Absolutely.
The same thing goes that if you're willing to pay $100 for a game that's huge and expensive because you're anticipating that you're going to spend a lot of time playing it, what happens when you go in and you're 10 hours in, just think to yourself like, this sucks. Like this has not caught me yet. It doesn't have its hooks in me yet.
I don't know. I personally am a lover of giant maps, huge maps. I love them.
Sides Queen.
Yep.
I know. But yeah, definitely the Elden Rings, the Assassin's Creed Odysseys. And I know that's not a lot of people's thing, but I hope there is always a place for games like that.
Yeah.
To have giant maps where you can just explore forever. But do I think every game needs to be like that, where the size is justifying the price versus the content justifying the size? Yeah, it's definitely a fine line to walk.
And don't get me wrong, I'm not a proponent of charging people hundreds of dollars for video games or even $100 for video games, because I'm not. When you're charging more for something and that person's paycheck is not getting any bigger, you're not going to have people flocking to that game. They're simply not going to be able to afford it. And like we talked about a couple episodes ago, if you've got to decide on, if you've got several different games that have come out and now people might have been able to buy 2 or 3 of those games at one point. Now they're barely going to be able to afford one.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what's that going to do to them if they buy this game and it's not what they like, it's not what they want, they just wasted $100. Yes, they could probably go and sell it if they have a physical copy and get some of their money back, but that's going to burn them. And then just going to be like, you know what? I'm kind of done with this then.
Which is exactly what happened in 83.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, now we have Game Pass. So if you took your small budget and you invested in something like Game Pass, then it's not so crucial that you love every single game you play.
Yeah, but that's the trade-off right there. If you're using something like Game Pass, then you're relinquishing the fact of owning these games, knowing that you're just going to play them for a little bit. You're at the mercy of what they have on Game Pass, but you still have a huge, wide library of what you can play.
I mean, at least there's options for the budget gamer. It's not perfect,
Sure.
but there's options. And as long as there are options for everyone at every price point, gaming's not truly going to crash.
I think to say that it's truly crashing and burning would, to me at least, say that it would be gone in 5 years. I don't think it's going to be the case.
No. The landscape will change in 5 years, I think.
Yeah, I think we're still doing a show in 5 years. We're going to be looking at a very different gaming industry.
If we're doing this into the nursing home.
Into the nursing home. So like 6 or 7 years?
For Donnie, yeah.
Come on, Donnie, it's time to record your episode. Who are you? Wait for me. Hello and welcome to Gamers Week podcast. Like, damn it, there should be a period here.
All right, let's go ahead and wrap up the show. Thank you, everyone, for listening to episode 165 of Gamers Week podcast. And a big thank you to the Retro Game Club podcast, Love Retro BTW, Pixel Pawn Production Company, and absolutely the best podcast, A Work in Progress, for sponsoring this episode. Don't forget to check out their links in the show notes. If you want to connect with Gamers Week, follow us on Twitter and Blue Sky at Gamers Week PC. Watch us right here on Twitch at twitch.tv/Gamers Week podcast, where we will record live every Wednesday at 8:30 Central Time. Email us at gamersweekpodcast@gmail.com. Visit our merch store at gamers-week-podcast.creator-spring.com, or if you want to do it the easy way, follow the link in the show notes. And last but not least, join us on Patreon at patreon.com/gamersweek. And finally, since you made it all the way to the end of this show, please leave us a rating and a review to let us know how we did. We really do value your feedback. And while you're there, consider subscribing on iTunes, Spotify, or your podcast platform of choice.
Old Downey sounds like Doc Brown. We gotta go. They got tapioca pudding in the cafeteria, Marty.
I don't know how they found me. Who do you think? The nurses.
Somehow, I don't think old Donnie would be really running from the nurses.
No, I would not.
They're going to put a suppository, which again, he's not running away from.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I'm dropping trowel. Guys, thank you very much for hanging out with us tonight. Now with no crashes whatsoever.
By the way, weights aren't your thing. It's Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. And it's like, Russ, what is your thing?
I don't know, Dad, but when I figure it out,
I'll let you know.
Yeah. Like, well, until you do, you're on these. And you're coming camping with the family. See, this is the kind of content that you get. Take care. Have a good night. And we'll see you back next week.
Sorry, did you say take Claire?
Did I? Mm-hmm. I don't think so. You'll have to go back
I'd take Claire twice.
Depending on which Claire we're talking about. Have a good night.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye.
Tesseract Unfold said it's going through a correction. The way things. God, I got a tickle in my throat. Give me a second here.
Happens.
Why does it happen?
Just randomly.
I wasn't doing that before the. Never mind.
Welcome to Gamers Week Uncut.
Welcome to Gamers Week Uncut.
Welcome to Gamers Week Uncut, patrons with benefits. This is the unscripted, patron-only bonus cast with less editing and more dirty jokes. We don't know where the conversation will go, but we're sure it will be weird.
This fish just went right on my nipple, and I'm just like,
I Google Street Fighter 6. The first search result that comes up is people think they can see Ryu's in the Street Fighter 6 reveal.
Listen up here, kids. You're not going to want to get one of those VD STDs things, right? Make you fall off. When you go, grab a pro. You'll be doing it for America.
That was perfect.
If you want to hear weekly episodes of our patron-only bonus cast, join us at patreon.com/gamersweek.